Hello, all, and welcome back. So today I thought we would take a look at something called uh, Blender, but not the graphics program Blender. This is Facebook's Blender chatbot, and yeah, I think there was maybe this is the article I saw. So this has a very interesting. This gives very interesting responses. So if you look here, you say, hey, what's up? It says, not much. Just got back from a surf trip. How about you? What are you up to? Whoa, where do you surf? I live in Hawaii. So I surf all over the place. Where do you live? I live in New York. I love Hawaii. Which island do you live on? I live on Oahu, the most populous island. Do you have any hobbies? Oh, yeah. So the stuff in the blue there is all from Blender. And I would say that most people would not be able to guess uh, correctly if you were to ask the question, is this a conversation with a computer or with a person? So in this case, they have been given a persona of, I guess, a surfer, but you could give it whatever personas are available. You could pick one. Uh, I don't know how difficult it is to create one. Or you can run this without a persona, and then you'd get very different kinds of responses. So what's involved with this? So this uses a transformer uh, um, to create the model. It's the same kind of thing that was used for GPT-3. But of course, this model is much smaller. This has 9.4 billion parameters, and GPT-3 has 175 billion parameters. So this is 20 times larger. Uh, so that's an order of magnitude times two. And nevertheless, it seems to do a really good job. Hi, how are you? What do you like to do for fun? I like working out. I love walking my dog, blah, blah, blah. So if you just read through this, you'll see that it's really hard to tell that this is not a person having this conversation. So what I want to do is I want to set this up. By the way, Mina is another chatbot model, and this has 2.6 billion parameters. It's supposed to be pretty good. I haven't looked at it. But I think I want to install this software. And so how do you do that? Well, here under Facebook research is something called Parlay, Parl AI or Parlay. And what we're going to do is install this, and then we're going to get that 9.2 billion parameter model and bring that down and see if we can get this running. So in other words, we use the software in Parlay to use that model. So how do we do this? Well, we're going to be copying this URL here, this GitHub URL, and let's take a look at the instructions here. All right, so here is the installation instruction. So it says it needs Python 3.6 and PyTorch 1.4 or higher. But it doesn't work with 1.5.0, but it's fine with 1.5.1 and 1.6.0. I'm probably going to install the 1.6.0, right? It's good to get the latest one that works, I think. So before we do this, I'm going to pull up a terminal here. And I'm going to quit this Jupyter notebook that I have running here. I'm going to exit from See what's going on here. Unfortunately, I can't see this thing out here without having this full screen. I have to work on that. So what's going on with jobs here? For the labs, kill, sent one. Now, if I did a kill one, it would kill my init process and my computer would crash. But this is a running job, and that's in the background, and it's job number one. So you put the % in front, and then you can kill that without crashing your system. Now, if I do jobs again, there are no jobs running. And exit from here. All right, I'm going to open a new terminal now, and I'm going to do a conda create. I don't want it to be called Python. I want this to be called, I'm going to call it Parlay, because Blender is kind of a confusing name because of the graphic modeling program, Blender. So it says it wants 3.6. I'm going to give it 3.6. And I'm using Conda to create my virtual environment. Once you create it, you have to activate it. And as you can see here, it's now active. This is funny. Now this is showing up here. I guess when this prompt gets too long, one disappears. I'm going to have to move this down to the next line. But I'm not going to do that now. All right, so now that I have the Parlay virtual environment activated, I'm going to do something. I'm using mini Conda here, and I'm going to do a Conda install Anaconda. And the reason I'm doing this is there are a lot of packages in Anaconda that I'm probably going to need for the other things that I'm going to be doing with this. So let's see what happens here. It's trying to get the environment correct. I don't know why it's having trouble. Usually it can do that pretty quickly. There's not much going on in this environment as it is. Taking a long time. Let's take a look at something here. Conda list. What's in there? I don't see anything that should be causing this to have trouble installing Anaconda. I'm sorry this is taking so long. All right, there we go. Now we're going to install all this stuff. So this way, when I start doing some Python coding, it's not going to say, oh, you don't have that package, you don't have that one, so on. This gives me a pretty good environment here. Okay, so now, let's see. It needs to have PyTorch, right? And it says here that it needs PyTorch 1.6.0. So let's do a conda install PyTorch equal 1.6.0. And it's not there. Can't find it. All right. So that means we need to do a instead of conda, do a pip3 install. All right. So it's having trouble with that. So let's try 151. And it doesn't like that either. And it doesn't like that. All right, so let's take a look at installing PyTorch, because whatever I'm doing is not correct. What I want, install PyTorch on Ubuntu. All right. So we already have this. This is all done. We've got Conda installed, Miniconda. All right, so I have a GPU, so I would like to have it installed with GPU stored. So I should already have this Linux here. See if this is already go. I have this already in here, but what happens? So I don't have the toolkit, so that's probably why it didn't install. So now we have the documentation also. So I guess this is this giving us CUDA? This is giving us CUDA. So CUDA is the library that's used by the GPU. CUDA is a kind of a programming toolkit. And if you don't have that, then you can't access uh, the GPU from, I think it's from C programs. So I suppose that what's going on in the PyTorch library is that there are some wrappers for C programs, and you need CUDA to run those C programs. So that's what's happening now. We're 30% through. And I apologize that this is taking so long. Let's look ahead. We're going to run this nvcc-v to make sure that it's installed properly. And we should get something back that looks like this. And then we install PyTorch with CUDA support. So what did it say? Was it happy with 151? I think it was happy with 151 or 160. So this has the instructions for 151. I'll do this. 99% done. There we go. Looking good. There we go. We have that installed. Now we're going to do a pip3 install here. Using this wheel file here, which we're going to get from the pytorch.org. Download.pytorch.org. There we go. It's getting the file, downloading it. Pip is the Python installation package. I believe that's what it's called. Python installer package, something like that. So there we go. Now it got them. Now it's installing them. There we go. It's installed. So it says it will take a while to download around 700 megabytes pre-built wheel files for PyTorch and dependencies. Or we could have just done this. All right, so in general, it's a good idea to read through documentation before you start doing things, because very often they tell you an easier way to do it, or they give you something that you should have done. I'm terrible at that. Watch my video through all the way through, because if I forgot to tell you something, I'll tell you at the end, and I don't really like to edit videos, so unlikely that I'm going to do that. So the other thing is, if I screw up and I forget to tell you something, I will put it either in as a comment, or I'll put it in the section that's about the video. So do read through those things and see if I've made an error. All right, so now we want to verify the PyTorch installation. We want to test it. So this is pretty easy to do. We're just going to do a Python -I. We can put this in. And there it is, it worked. So at least I think it worked. Let's take a look down here. You can see we're using a tensor. Right? We're using this torch function is giving us back a tensor. So it worked. And we also want to check here if CUDA is available. Copy this and paste it here. And it says true, so it's available. So now we have PyTorch with CUDA support. Boy, it said we needed 40 minutes. I don't think we took 40 minutes for this. Well, we already had the NVIDIA drivers installed, so hey, look at this. We did all this work here, right? And they call this step 3? No, this is step 4. So we have step 4 over here. And so we'd expect to see maybe step 5 over here. No, this says 4 steps. 4 steps to install. So this is not step 5. But if we hadn't had the pip in, if we hadn't had the NVIDIA drivers loaded already, we would not have been able to install the toolkit or anything else that follows. So this is the thing about these articles. Very often people don't realize what they've left out until after they've written them. But wouldn't it have made sense to have put this before this, and this in the article? Well, I'm ranting now. Let me get on with it. So we're done with this. And we don't need to look at this anymore for now. And where were we here? Don't need this. All right, so here are the requirements. Done here. And now we've got this requirements.txt file. So let me do a Control D and get out of that. And I'm going to go over to the code directory here. And I'm going to do a git clone. Hopefully this is still up here in the clipboard. Here it is. Git clone git at github.com /Facebook research /parlay.git. And so this is going to clone this rather large repository. Oh, not so large. And so we can see here that I put this in the wrong place. So move to parent directory. All right, and so here's Parlay. Now we can see into Parlay here. And here's our requirements.txt file right over here. And so it's got a bunch of stuff in here. I bet most of this stuff is probably already in there because it was in the Anaconda. But there are some things like TensorBoard. And what's TensorFlow going in here? Do I already have TensorFlow? Well, that's all right. All right, so I'm skipping a step here. Yes, I am. All right, so it looks like we don't run this requirements.txt file. It looks like this here is going to run that for us. Right. So far, so good. We're not getting any red there. I don't see any errors. Photo core. All right. So I'm just curious about this. Yeah, this is, you see, this is opening requirements up here. And doing other things too. So I wonder if we have TensorFlow installed now. So pip TensorBoard X. Oh, TensorFlow. I wonder why we need TensorBoard if we don't have TensorFlow. Well, I can't answer that question. Uh, this is the recommended installation procedure, blah, blah, blah. All right, so it's saying that if you don't want to go through all this stuff, you can just do this. Uh, but it won't give us the examples that we probably don't need. All right, so now we can start running it. And, I've got a rather small machine, so I know a lot of this stuff is not going to run properly. I've installed Parlay before, and I have a minimal GPU, so some of this stuff works, some of this stuff doesn't work. But let's see. I think we're done with Parlay, and now we can move on to Facebook's. Actually, not have closed that tab that I had open before. Not that one. This one. Because this link takes us where we want to go, which is the paper from Parlay. And this is very interesting. You should read this paper, or at least the abstract here. Let me just run that through quickly.
Building open domain chatbots is a challenging area for machine learning research. While prior work has shown that scaling neural models in the number of parameters and the size of the data they are trained on gives improved results, we show that other ingredients are important for a high-performing chatbot. Good conversation requires a number of skills that an expert conversationalist blends in a seamless way, providing engaging talking points and listening to their partners, both asking and answering questions, and displaying knowledge, empathy and personality appropriately, depending on the situation. We show that large-scale models can learn these skills when given appropriate training data and choice of generation strategy. We build variants of these recipes with 90M, 2.7B and 9.4B parameter neural models, and make our models and code publicly available. Human evaluations show our best models are superior to existing approaches in multi-turn dialogue in terms of engagingness and humanness measurements. We then discuss the limitations of this work by analyzing failure cases of our models.
And blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I think that all we need to do now is run this command, and this should give us a chatbot. All right, so now it is downloading the model for BlenderBot into a file called bst9b.tgz. And 9b must stand for 9 billion, 9.4 billion parameters. This huge model. So, does this say, this is going to take, how long is this going to take? I'm getting 200 megabits a second here. This model is 17.3 gigabytes. And I've got 1.2 gigabytes of it already, and it's taken how many seconds so far? A minute, which means it's going to take me about 15 minutes to download this model. And I don't know. We could take another look at some more of this paper in the meantime. But we don't care about these evaluations. All right, so one thing I can point you to here is Yannick Kilcher has done an interesting. I don't know if I spelled his name right here. Well, let me go to YouTube here. Spell this really badly. Yannick Kilcher. Oh, here we go. All right, so Yannick Kilcher has done a. If I can. Blender. Here we go. I talked to Blender. Yannick is a really nice guy and very knowledgeable. So I would recommend that you take a look at this. And for example,
Yes, I am a vegan. I don't eat any animal products. Hi there. Today we're going to talk to a transformer and specifically to the new chatbot.
Anyway, I don't want to violate this guy's copyright on this or whatever, but I highly recommend you take a look at this because he talks about things like how to change the persona, and you can just take a look at some of the testing that he's done. So we're out here.
Setting where, and so you can see, you can.
Here he's changing the persona, or here he's setting the persona to false. He's also turning off the safety mode so that it'll say what it wants to say without. So if you're showing this to children or something, leave the safety on. Anyway, this guy is a very interesting fellow in general, but if you're interested in Blender, you'd probably want to watch this. Take a look at how we're doing here. We're 39% done. And if I decide to be a really nice guy, I will. I think actually I can pause. Go back here. OBS Studio. I think that I can just pause this and then restart it. Okay, here we go. I think we're recording again. And here we are. We're back with 100%. And it hasn't given us a prompt back, so it's probably still doing something. I don't know what, but the downloading is done. So that's the first part. Hit enter and see what happens here. So when you hit enter, it doesn't give you the prompt back. It means it's still working. I don't know what it's doing, but it's doing something. And whatever it's doing, it's not downloading. So probably building something. It could be building C programs. It could be building Python scripts. It could be reformatting the data into something else. It could be uncompressing it. I think TGZ is a zip file, so it may be expanding that. But what it's not doing is it's not giving us any indication of what it's doing. So we just have to live with it. Nothing we can do about that, and wait. I'm going to put you back on pause again. Okay, we're recording again. Doing stuff. All right, so it's overriding opt-task to blended skill talk. Whatever the hell that is. Overriding the opt model file to the 9 GB file. Doing some sort of checkpoints. We're loading the model with the beam block full context equal to false. Using CUDA. Loading the dictionary. So there's a big 9 billion model dot dict. Number of words, 8,008. That's a palindrome. That's always nice. Palindrome. I suppose that's the maximum number of words that it can interpret. So if we put in on our side of the conversation something longer than that, it probably can't do anything with it. Transformer generator, full interactive mode on, and now it's doing something and we don't know. Whatever it's doing, it's taking a while. So it took 15 minutes to go from building the data to overriding opt, whatever the hell that is. Didn't take long to load the model. Or load the dictionary, milliseconds. Here, you see they all happen within that on the 25th second. Now whatever it's doing is taking a while. But, you know, this is the experience of loading software or building something like this. It takes a while. But if you want your computer to do new and exciting things, you've got to go through this kind of stuff. If you want to build a computer that can talk to you, this is what it's going to take. And along with this, we're going to have to get our speech-to-text working and our text-to-speech working so we can have an actual conversation. And I have those components built. And in the next video, once we get this thing working, I can show you how to install all of that and get it working and so on and so forth. And I actually have some videos already that do that, but it wouldn't hurt for me to make a new video that puts all of that stuff together so you don't have to look around for other videos and figure it out and so on. I think that I'm going to put you back on pause again because listening to me chat on is not the most interesting thing you could be doing. What's going on here? This system is locked up. We crashed. Damn it.